Welcome to the shop. Welcome everybody to Garage Groove. Thank you for joining us. Today we wanted to give you a rundown on Sufyan's upgrade. What is his upgrade? Well, we sold his 110cc pit bike and we picked up this thing. He sat on this with the seat on it, and it's perfect size for him, and it's a perfect upgrade. This is a 5-speed manual clutch. It's a 250cc. Sounds like a lot for him, but these motors are rated for a lot less than, like, it's a 250cc, but it's not going to compare to like a Honda 250cc or a Yamaha or anything like this. This thing puts out about 15-16 horse, and I think it's very manageable for him, and we're not going to hot rod it or anything. It should be a nice bike for him. He can touch down flat foot with the seat on it, and keep in mind by the time he rides this in the spring, he's going to have grown a little bit more. So let's go over this thing. This thing, I bought it off Facebook for 300 bucks. That fits right into our budget because we sold his old pit bike, the 110. We sold that for $750. So that gives us about a $450 budget to play with. I think my initial thoughts on this thing. So I think this bike, when I look at certain things on this bike, I think this bike is definitely a heavily neglected bike. Look at this. See how that's busted right off. That rim is junk. The rim is junk. The motor is a big thing, and it's carrying about 80 pounds of compression. This thing was rode hard and parked pretty much. Sprocket looks kind of worn. We're going to do a rebuild on the engine. I think we're going to do one. We're going to check the valves on this thing, make sure the clearances are okay, because that would, if those are off, that would give it a wrong reading. So typically with these bikes, now I really wanted to get him a Honda or something, but there's really nothing available. Nothing available unless you're gonna chuck $2,500 at the problem, and it really doesn't suit us. You know what we're trying to do here, what we're trying to accomplish here. We're trying to do stuff as a family projects, and we're trying to feed it through the channel so everybody can enjoy it as well. It wouldn't feed any of that if I just bought something like that. Plus, it's a little out of our budget, you know. This is nice. You know, we get to do it as a group, as a family. The kids learn something, and they also learn about managing money and projects and all of that stuff. There's just a lot to be gained by doing it this way. And what we're going to do with this thing is we're going to do something different. We want to give it a vintage look. So things like maybe this fender we're not going to keep. We want to give them a fender, maybe something like what Faison's got here, the old style. Maybe something like this we'll give, and then we'll paint it more of vintage color. I don't know what yet. We'll find some the round, the oval number plates. I already ordered a vintage knobby tire, which is a 3.016, so we're going to do that as well. But the 80 pounds on this motor is inadequate, and I'll give you a quick rundown of what to look for on air-cooled 4-stroke single-cylinder engines. Now this will apply to all your Honda XRs, this will apply to your Suzuki DRs, this will apply to the Yamaha TTR, and this will apply to the Kawasaki KLX, and the whole host of Chinese 4-stroke single-cylinder air-cooled motors, the Pit Bike 110s, the 125s, 140s, this thing which is a 250, all of these backyard type of a trail bike, yard type of motorcycles. As far as compression goes, what you want to look for is, if it's less than 100 pounds, you're looking at a rebuild. If it's between 100 and 115 pounds, it's adequate. You can get by. It still's got some life left in it, depending on how much you or your kids ride it. And if you're above 115, 125, that's a good reading. And once you get up over 125, anywhere from 125 to 135, that engine's like brand new. I would treat it like you're breaking in a brand new engine. If you happen to buy a used bike and you do a compression test on it and it comes back, let's say 134 pounds, I would run some nice gas in it and do a nice easy. That's a brand new motor, basically. So that's how I would treat that, and that's how you look at 4-strokes mainly. And we're coming in at under 80 pounds of compression. So what we're going to do is we're going to pop the cover on that motor and check the valves on it. We'll see you in a minute. Okay, welcome back everybody. So we're trying to save our budget here on this bike. So what we're trying to do is I was getting a reading of 80 pounds PSI on the compression test, but you can't ever go by that. Before you start ordering parts and thinking about a rebuild, you should check the valve clearances. So we're at top dead center, and I see that the intake is a little tight, so I'm going to show you here. I don't know if you can. You can kind of. You can see our marks are lined up. So it's on TDC. It's on TDC, and we can see that that's tight. Exhaust is okay, but this is tight. So we're going to back off on that, and then we will redo the compression test. And the same holds true. If we get 100 to 110 pounds, we're kind of on the fence then. We'll have to see if we want to build it or not. If it's over 110, 120, that's a good motor. We don't need to do nothing with it. And of course, if it's over 120 or whatever, it's like brand new. So that's what we're hoping for. This back wheel just set us back at least $100, if not more. So let's set the valves properly, and then we'll redo the compression test. See you in a minute. Hello everybody. So just a quick update on Sofian's Chinese 250 that we're gonna we're gonna make this into a vintage looking bike, even though it's not. We're gonna make it look real cool. First step is the motor. So we tested this motor at 80 pounds of compression, but I'm always hesitant to start ordering parts without doing thorough check. I wanted to do the valve check on it, make sure it was within specs, and the intake was a little tight. So that would cause the compression to be low. So we're gonna retry it again and see if we get a better reading. So here we go. Okay, you want to hold that right on the gauge. Hang on 1 second. You can't move it too much because it'll fall out. All right, here we go.
Okay, we're gonna test out the compression now, and
hopefully we get a good reading.
so as you can see, it's still 0.
Okay, here we go. Ready?
Crap. That's bad.
How much?
It is a 90. 85.
Is it going down?
No, it's just staying at that one spot. It's not moving.
No?
Nope, that sucks.
Okay, so the verdict. So we did the valve adjustment and we gained about 5 or 6 pounds only. We were at, well, actually about 12. Yeah, sorry. So we were at about 80 pounds before. We're at a little over 90. So we're gonna go ahead and rebuild this thing. We're gonna, me and Faison, we're gonna rip this motor out of here. He's gonna help on his brother's behalf, even though it's not his bike, it's Sophian's bike. He's gonna help me. We're gonna pull this motor out and we're gonna stick it on the workbench, and then we can order some parts.
You can measure it.
I'm gonna turn on the time lapse. We'll see you in a minute. We have stripped this thing down. I had it on real fast time lapse. It took me probably about an hour and a half, I would say, something like that. We've got her down to the frame. And there's the swing arm. The rear rim, I don't know about. So that's what she's looking like. I got all the nuts and bolts here. We will clean up the shop and reset. I always like to reset. And I think I'm gonna take that skid plate off too. But we'll do that behind the scenes here. We'll pop that skid plate off, and then we'll have hopefully some primer going on today. I'm gonna have to look into some bearings. I tried to save some of them by dunking in. I got a thing of oil right here, used motor oil. I always keep a little bit around, And I've dunked a bunch of stuff in there, see if we can salvage anything. I'll just check after a few hours and see if there's any play in it, and if it's tight and it spins nicely, we'll clean it up and see if we can utilize it. Otherwise, we'll move on. Front wheel looks good. That whole front end looks good. So we're gonna not mess with it. And we'll come back. Here's the subframe. We'll put it all together, hopefully pretty soon. Get a nice rolling chassis going. And here's the motor we took out. That was yesterday, last night. We'll get the motor built. We'll get a nice rolling chassis going, and we're gonna build ourselves a nice Chinese, modern, vintage bike, whatever you call it. We'll see you soon. Welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us. Just a quick update on Sofian's pit bike, or I should say motorcycle now. It's a 250cc, and I think he's earned the right to say that he rides a motorcycle. In any case, we did quite a bit of work to this thing, as you saw in the time lapse. It wasn't easy. I mean, when something's been neglected that long, nothing comes off easy. But we've made some progress. Okay, so there sits on the floor is the frame, and we're going with the vintage look. So we painted that black. There's the subframe's black. Swing arm, we're keeping it kind of it's a silver. I was hoping it didn't look so metallic. It looks kind of fake, but that's all right. It's a beater bike. We cleaned everything up nicely. I didn't do a time lapse on the paint and all of that because it gets too tedious to see all of that. But we sanded everything, we cleaned. I power washed everything at a car wash, and then I sanded everything and gave it a primer coat and a paint coat, and then we threw a little bit of a clear coat on it. So that's about as good as that's gonna get. We have Boxo parts here, and this rim, I was looking at it closely. I was hoping I can salvage it somehow, but it's not gonna work. So the front end, the whole front end, we're gonna keep. It's fine, looks good. I threw a bunch of bearings and stuff in the oil, and then we'll pull them out in a day or two and see what can be salvaged. In the meantime, I've already ordered some parts. I got a gnarly vintage 16-inch tire coming for it, and I'm gonna put it on another rim. The only thing is the front rim is gonna be like an anodized pink or whatever that lavender color is, and the back one's gonna be black. It is what it is. There's no sense getting another rim. You know, the front rim is perfect. So, and then we're gonna be tearing into the motor here pretty soon. I'm gonna take the top end off, and I'm gonna start looking at the cylinder and stuff and order the right exact match for it. So stay with us. We will keep you updated, and we can see this thing all the way to the end. It should look cool. It's gonna be a modern bike with the 250 4-stroke, and it's gonna look vintage. You know, it's gonna have the oval plates, and we're trying to go with, we're gonna try to keep it as vintage looking as possible. So we'll see you next time. Take care. Welcome back everybody. So me and Faison, he's been my right hand man. We've been working on Sofian's bike, and we got quite a bit done. We're still waiting on parts, and I'm also waiting on parts for Imran's dyno. As soon as I get those, I think some of those are coming from a little bit far away, so As soon as I get those, we'll be working on those. But in the meantime, we did what we could on Sophian's bike. So
what we did is we kind of decorated it. We put some decals and stuff on the frame, and as you see, we stuck some stickers on the back fender, and we did paint the frame. The frame turned out really good.
Yep.
And we put stickers on the frame because as you can see, the frame is really nice and thick, so it sticks out.
Yep. So what we did besides the paint job is we also I cleaned all the nuts and bolts. We salvaged a lot of the bearings out of here. So what we did was we cleaned up the bearings and I put them in an oil bath for about a day. I have you guys saw the oil bath. So yeah, we dunked them in there and we put them out of the oil and they functioned just perfectly fine. It was just some grime and stuff in them. The problem with these bikes is because, you know, it's not a Jap bike. It's hard to find bearings and stuff for them.
It's a little goofy.
It's a little goofy, yeah. So unless you go on eBay or something or Amazon and it says, you know, a Baja X250 bearings, you know, you're kind of in the dark because a lot of these Chinese companies, they'll build the bikes that are share maybe 90% of all the parts, but then you go ahead and order this one part and it's a little bit different. You know, that's happened to me before. So it's hard to tell with that. So to save time and stuff and money, we pretty much used whatever we could. Now remember, this bike, Sophian's bike, we're going with a vintage look. It's a modern bike, but we're going with a vintage look. So what we did was we went with almost like a CR, an older Yamaha or 80s CR type of a color. We did the frame in the black. A lot of the older frames were black. We went with a silver swing arm.
And we did do the decals too.
We did old style decals, you know, just to spruce it up a little bit.
Cleaned the shocks.
Yep, we cleaned the shock, we greased everything, we rejuvenated all the bearings.
Skid plate, we painted that too.
Yep, we got a silver going on the skid plate. The other thing we've done is we ordered, I just went ahead and ordered 2 new black rims. You know, we had talked about how damaged this rim is. Look how bad that rim is. You know, look at this piece, that's busted. That's busted. If you look down here, that's busted. Every single one of those is busted. So that's what we did. We went and just ordered 2 beautiful black rims. And then they're also going to come with new bearings and new tires. But the rear tire, we're going to remove it and put our vintage knobby on it. So that's what we're going to do. And then if you can imagine, probably right around here, you're going to have an oval frame. Or an oval number plate, and we're going to paint that the same color as the CR. As far as the motor goes, I've ordered the rebuild kit on it, and as soon as that comes, we're going to rebuild it. These motors are interesting. They don't have overhead cams on these, so these are they have the push rods in them. So it's even easier to build these than it is with a single cam. I mean, the single cam, single cylinder is like a joke. You know, put those motors together, there's nothing to it. So anyways, we wanted to update you. And
subframes, we painted the same.
Yeah, we did the subframe and everything. Bike looks nice. We did away with this Star Wars looking fender. We're not using that.
We got a fender more like the 490.
No, I got a fender for a XR 100 from a late 80s. And it
Kinda.
looks just like that.
Yeah, it's kind of like mine.
Yep, so that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna use one of those type of fenders. We're gonna paint it the same color as the plastic. And then we're gonna go with the vintage knobby, and we're gonna go with the round number plates, yellow background, and we're gonna give Sophian a number 12 because he's 12 years old. And this is his first real bike that I'm building from the ground up for him. Faison I've already done. I'm working on his second one.
Yeah, the RM.
So that's where we're at. And the other thing really quickly I'll go over is, you know, when we did Faison's RM, we had like umpteen episodes. We're not going to do that. We're going to move through this quick. So we're thinking this bike is going to be 2 episodes maybe, at the most 3 episodes. So you guys get the end product as soon as possible. So thank you for being with us. And thank you for joining us, and thank you for subscribing and everything you guys are doing. Please stay with us. Take care. Have a good day.